It's impossible to imagine this wondrous place. You'd have to dream it. And they did. Terra Australis, the great southern land. Australia is a continent and country. People dreamed this land, and the rugged land made these resilient people, made them open and yet mysterious. They competed with nature for their survival, and so competition became their religion. It's all to do with opposites, this land. Barren and abundant. Playground, battleground. The modern nation is 200 years old, but people have been here at least 40,000 years. This is their story, through their eyes, down under. In Australia's dry interior, the outback, sheep seem wildly out of place here. But the human will can make anything happen in Australia, though it's always a struggle.
Jason Wingfield, the big tall fella down there.
Jason Wingfield pretends the struggle is just a game. Beyond the dry outback, in every direction, you step into liquid.
And Revolution's 115, 10 down.
The world's biggest island needs a sophisticated navy, and yet another competition will decide who's good enough to serve. Simon Dickfoss is ready.
Fire one tube.
In the tropical north, another power centre. Arthur Tamworth and Nicky Willis are storehouses of culture. And if their knowledge is lost, so is the nation's soul and heart. Competition is good. It drives Australians to be better. And for Candace Falzon, competition means only one thing: winning. But when the opponent is nature herself, the outcome is always doubtful. Driving everything, the most powerful force, the tyranny of distance. Jerry Stanley is daring to build the world's longest fence to keep out wild dogs. That's Australian. It's what they call larrikin independence, a rowdy, have-a-go confidence, and that's Aussie too. The land stretches from warm tropical currents to the frigid waves coming up from Antarctica. Australia is larger than Europe, yet its population is 30 times smaller. Just 20 million people live here. Australia's story is directly linked to its landmass, the oldest on Earth. No volcanoes or earthquakes have shifted this land about for millions of years. Only the slow ticking of time itself has worn down these ancient mountains. It has leached away the soil nutrients and exposed hidden monoliths like Uluru. Isolated by ocean, most Australian plants and animals are unique to the world. There's more than 500,000 species that exist nowhere else. The Australian Aborigines preserve and protect the world's oldest living culture.
I feel 100,000 years old. I am the rock. I am the kangaroo. I am my forefathers before me.
For more than 40,000 years, Arthur Tamwoy's forebears survived one of the world's harshest environments.
To a lot of people, they say it's a harsh country, but you've got to see it for what it is. And you've got to become part of it. And my people over thousands of years, they've looked at the land as being a part of it and working with Mother Nature.
To Arthur's Pitjantjatjara people, the land is a sacred gift from ancestors, celebrated in art, song, and dance.
When I apply the paint, I am the ancestral spirits. My spirit is in touch with Mother Nature. And when I dance, I am no longer me.
The kangaroo is sacred to Arthur. It's his dreaming, a ritual dance that expresses his past and present.
To be a kangaroo, you've got to let Mother Nature take over. She'll talk through you. She will give you the spirit of the kangaroo. When you're in tap with Mother Nature, then a lot of things are given to you.
Such dreamings originally sang this world into existence. And now Arthur must present a dreaming story to some powerful tribal leaders. It's a huge responsibility, and an ancient one. Australia's modern history is another story. On Australia Day, every January 26th, the nation celebrates its convict past. It's the anniversary of the settlement of Sydney Cove as a penal colony for British criminals. It's an outlaw origin tale, and people love the fact that it's frankly not nice. There were convicts and their keepers who had to endure a 9-month voyage just to get here. As word of the new land spread, free settlers came to chance their luck. After 200 years, this giant prison yard is a modern, independent nation. 2 out of 3 Australians live in cities. It has one of the world's most urban populations. But they hug the coast, as if repelled by Australia's barren heart. More than 90% of the land is too dry for crops or towns. Most habitable land lies near the coast. Sydney is the largest of Australia's 8 state capitals. The demanding land soon tamed its convict colonials, and in time, they learned to make the place prosper. Australia now has one of the world's highest standards of living. 4 out of 5 Australians live within a half-hour drive of the ocean. They can choose from 11,000 beaches. That's the way it is with Aussie culture. Just add water.
I think because we're surrounded by the water and we have amazing beaches, everyone just loves to go to the beach, everyone loves to cool off in summer, and I think that contributes to why Australians love the water so much.
Candice Falzon saves lives. Bondi Beach near Sydney is her beat. She's part of a century-old corps that has saved 500,000 lives. Every year, around 60 people are lost to these relentless riptides and undertows.
Probably in my lifetime, I've probably rescued about 10 people. I try to prevent it sort of happening rather than having to go out and make the rescue, but if a rescue sort of situation comes up, I'm usually the first one out there, you know, trying to do my bit and bring them back to life and bring them back to shore safely.
By age 12, Candice knew she would be a swimmer. In Australia, swimmers rule.
It's just the most amazing feeling when you're one with the water. I feel like a mermaid. It's my life. Without the ocean, I don't think I could survive.
The National Surf Lifesaving Championships is the Super Bowl of aquatics. 7,500 contestants. Australians have a fire to compete. Candice wants to be the Iron Woman champion.
I'm extremely competitive. I want to be better than everyone else. Once you have the taste of winning, you want to keep winning.
Candice's parents have come. They're every bit as nervous as their daughter.
She likes us here. You know, some kids don't like their family to come, but she really loves us to come and support her.
In this qualifying heat, Candice needs to defeat her rivals, of course. But there is an older, wiser, and more sullen opponent. The ocean.
It's getting bigger.
With opponents like these, what chance has Candice got? Her only shot is to put the threat of the surf out of her mind and take refuge in her preparation and ability. She's ready. From the beach, the surf looks like a muddle. And if Candice doesn't read it right, no matter how good a swimmer she is, she will lose. But if she does read it right, a good wave could put her in front.
I don't find it hard to read at all. I love it when the surf is big and messy.
Candice is placed, so she goes through into the final.
Got about second, so I was pretty happy with that. So my first race is usually my worst one. It takes me a bit to warm up, so maybe the next race I might win.
A big win is now within Candice's grasp. But the swimmers are suddenly now the very best, and the waves are at their worst. It's not over yet.
Well done.
It confuses outsiders. Quite frankly, it confuses insiders. Sometimes it takes a whole afternoon to play. And it breaks all the common rules of football. It is the nation's favourite sport, Australian rules. It's a mix of rugby, wrestling, and ballet. Played in a giant oval with 2 goals at each end. It's the only game in the world where you can miss and still score a point. But in this competitive land, nothing is too bizarre or outlandish that it can't be turned into a game. Australia's dead centre, the isolated town of Alice Springs. Here, even history can be rigged up into a game. This time it's camels. Camels were introduced to the outback as a means of transporting explorers in the 19th century. Neil Waters is the camel wrangler here, and he's got his hands full.
When you got 20 or 30 camels in a yard, it's like having a schoolyard full of kids. You know, there are lots of different characters and lots of different personalities.
The Camel Cup reveres history, but the Kentucky Derby it's not. Here in the outback, they dress up and let her rip. They're unswervingly rowdy and justifiably proud of it. Vikings, Arabs, cowgirls, well, camel girls, anything goes out here, even the wedding.
We heard that Ryan got married here this morning.
We just wanted a Central Australian experience and found out the Camel Cup was on this time of year, so how can you miss that?
Make sure you've got your draw numbers.
So how do you prepare to ride an animal that kicks, bucks and spits?
Bash my head against the pole for a while and slap my face around and take a few red pills and yellow pills and stuff like that.
They look scruffy camels, not at all thoroughbreds, and they've a mind of their own.
Camel race and anything can happen on the day, so I'll just take the day as it comes and hopefully do well. Everybody's got their own way and own style, and some show off in how they ride and others get serious and ride like little jockeys. It's easy, just hold on for grim death and go. Trigger's not to fall off.
A victory is not to be, apparently. So Neil does what any self-respecting camel jockey would. He blames the track.
Camel was in the boggy spot all the way up until the top corner and then just didn't have enough energy to keep going. He was doing all right up until then, but it's just too soft.
Neil's deflated, but he's still got his athletes.
I'm just a camel driver. I do everything with camels.
As if the natural history of Australia wasn't odd enough. 500,000 immigrant camels now roam free in the outback. The world's largest wild camel population, doubling every 10 years. Still, camels are ordinary mammals, whereas evolution in Australia favoured a special class of mammals called marsupials. There are 142 species, including kangaroos, koalas and wombats. Marsupials are born weak and vulnerable. They need shelter and a parental pouch. In most countries, marsupials couldn't compete with other mammals and they died out. Here, in isolation, they thrived. Another evolutionary success story is the monotreme, the egg-laying branch of the mammals. The platypus looks like a horizontal duck with a bill, webbed feet, claws, and eggs. The world's only other monotreme is the ant-eating echidna, also a native. The evolution of wildlife here had a major role in influencing Aboriginal culture. The Aborigines have captured the truths of this land for eternity, and they're passed down in ceremony and in songlines. Songlines are musical maps, guiding tribes to sustenance and spiritual locations. They are as real and as useful to them as satellite navigation. Because native animals couldn't be domesticated, they forced the Aborigines to live off the land.
We've been there for a long time now, and basically Mother Nature provides for us, and she looks after us. We wait for certain times of the season, and then we know what bush tucker there is that's out there.
Tucker, or food, has always been free for these people. Arthur Tamwoy and his friend Jungler can buy a restaurant meal whenever they want. But traditional food means so much more.
I'll just pick this one.
Native wild plants could be harvested at will.
Nice.
Right there, look.
Fruit, no, it's bush passion fruit. I reckon it's much sweeter than the European passion fruit.
Farming was impossible for the Central Desert Aborigines. There were no native wheat, corn or rice plants to domesticate.
Beautiful.
And the dirt was too poor, and the rainfall dicey. So they became the cleverest of hunter-gatherers, reading the land and its blessings like a text for survival.
Well, basically everything's here for us. She provides everything. We take care of her and she takes care of us. So everything rejuvenates. Oh, look here.
Just take her out.
This Joey's mother was hunted for a meal, and so Jungler has stepped in to raise the youngster, improvising a pouch out of his backpack. Aboriginal culture demands stewardship of the land and all its creatures.
She's about 3 months old, and I'll keep her for 18 months. It's a little somersault. We look after the young, and that ensures the survival of the animal, goes back out in the wild and reproduces and keeps the food sources alive.
There's so much life in this desolate wasteland, if you know the secrets.
It's all flat and nothing. You don't know the song, you don't know the story, and you don't know your land, you will not survive.
The Australian wilderness comes in many surprising and staggering forms. As different from the outback as night from day is a wilderness that lies far to the northeast and is as rich as paradise. It's Australia's greatest natural wonder. It's actually the Earth's largest living thing. The Great Barrier Reef. This coral wonder started growing around 10,000 years ago. It sprawls across the northeast edge of Australia's continental shelf. The warm, clear shallows spawned a marine empire covering more than 120,000 square miles, larger than Italy. The Great Barrier Reef is actually 3,000 separate reefs, with almost 1,600 species of fish and 350 species of coral. It's the world's second largest marine park, with 1/3 protected from fishing.
There's almost 1,600 different species of fish on the Great Barrier Reef, and most of them, around about 90%, are vegetarians.
The outfits are crazy, but still the fish are biting. The real harvest here is tourism, worth $5 billion a year.
It was great. I've never done that before in my whole life.
Red, pink, blue, yellow, orange, black, white. Good, 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 very good.
The scale of life here is staggering, even for Australia. Per cubic yard, there's more species than in any other environment on the planet. On a single reef live more fish varieties than the entire Caribbean. More than 4,000 humpback whales winter in the reef's warm waters, finding mates and birthing calves. Almost 1/3 of the world's shark species are found here, ranging in size from the 1-foot dog shark to the 25-foot great whites. Sharks are one of 3 big Australian predators. Perhaps the most infamous lives in other waters. In the coastal rivers of Australia's north. Saltwater crocodiles, the largest reptiles on the planet, were once hunted to the edge of extinction. For 3 decades, they've been protected, and they're perhaps the only thing that keeps Australians out of the water. In truth, fewer than 30 people have been killed in the last 3 decades. By contrast, Australia's 3rd large predator stalks the interior. And it spawned an outrageous feat of engineering.
Mate, whereabouts are you now, Edward?
Up the back of Cargo, yeah, it's no trainers, mate, training up the trainers.
Longest man-made structure in the world, and it's supposed to be visible from outer space. It's a big job to keep up the maintenance on it.
Stretching 3,500 miles, cordoning off 1/4 of Australia. This fence defends livestock from Australia's wild dog, the dingo. These wily creatures are another immigrant, brought in by Asian seafarers 4,000 years ago. The dogs learned to hunt bouncing kangaroos and elusive wallabies, so docile livestock are no contest. Hence, the Great Wall of Australia.
You know, the dog's a very smart animal, obviously very cunning. Nothing uncommon for a dingo or a wild dog to maul, 60 or 80 or 100 sheep a night.
Jerry Stanley maintains half the wild dog fence. More than 250,000 fence posts, 1,500 miles of wire mesh. Jerry's job never ends. Mending fences is his life's calling.
A lot of these old timber posts are buggered. The boys will knock out all the old timber posts and replace them with steel. This machine here is capable of about 800 or 900 a day, so it doesn't take long to tap in 8,000 or 10,000 steel posts.
But some Australian killers are not so easily corralled. Of the world's 10 most deadly snakes, all are Australian. 178 species live here, and 28 are extremely venomous. The tiny redback spider is also undaunted by fences. Tough enough to survive throughout Australia, they bite around 250 people each year. Funnel-web spiders are among the world's most dangerous. Australia has 36 varieties. In the end, despite bad dogs and those venomous creatures, Jerry loves this land and knows it like his own backyard, because it is his backyard.
I know that all of it. Just about every rock and every tree on the whole 2,540 km.
tell you where you are and I can tell you where there's a tree standing not far from you.
Jerry's given most of his working life to the fence, camping out 5 nights a week, only getting back home to his family on weekends. Still, he used to be away longer.
Yeah. That's when we originally started, in Quilpie, every night, weeks on end. So yes, it's been a big job, and I feel like that I've achieved something. These fellas here that work on the fence, they take a fair bit of pride. You don't like to drive away from your kids and your family every week. It's Monday morning, to work, Friday go home. It's a lifestyle.
The outback is different things to different Australians. For Jerry and his boys, it's a rambling office. For others, it is now, and has always been, a religion. In Australia's desert centre stands a proud sandstone monolith. 1,000 feet tall and more than 2 miles long. Like an iceberg, most of it mysteriously is below ground. It's called Uluru. Uluru is sacred to the Inanu people, who believe it was formed by a great serpent ancestor. But that's not the only Aboriginal creation dreaming. There are in fact many others, connected to sites right across the continent. Dreaming stories are sometimes set down as art. The images are fraught with metaphors of real landscapes and the spirit world.
When we paint, we're painting the story of our traditional lands. And it might be a little bit of short story on canvas, but that short story might cover 10,000 kilometres.
Techniques differ from tribe to tribe. Arthur Tamwai uses the dot style of Central Western Desert people. Some images are survival maps, showing food and water, or boundaries between tribal lands. Many have been passed down unchanged for generations. To Arthur, this is art as history, and history as art. Without them, the knowledge and the people vanish.
The colours are beautiful. You'll never find them anywhere else in the world. This part of the country is ancient. Our whole land is ancient. To look at the landscapes, look at the colours, to look how Mother Nature displays what's on a show every day. Very special.
This is not decorative art. This is the thing itself. A human response to existence. A map of the contract between man and nature.
To paint the story is to have the knowledge of your land. And it's only when you know where your country is, then you can paint it.
Here the timeless is sliced through by the mindless. The numbingly long highways that link up the modern nation. You might think you know some lengthy roads, but this is long with a vengeance. 2,000 miles, with seldom another human or machine along the way. An Australian road train is longer than a Boeing 737. This 18-wheeler has 62 wheels, and Aussie truckers have changed more than a few. Road trains carry goods through Australia's heart. From the northern outpost of Darwin to the southern city of Adelaide is a round trip of almost 4,000 miles. And Sydney to Perth is 5,000 miles in total, the equivalent of New York to Hawaii.
basically nothing. Can't see nothing for miles.
Bisecting the country, you can travel for hours without seeing a sign of civilization apart from the tarmac. It can be daunting, but it can also be inspiring. This land of the big sky induces contemplation about ourselves and our place in the cosmos. From the Northern Hemisphere, you can't see the skies down under. Celebrated astronomers from around the world come here to be amazed by the heavens marked by the Southern Cross.
I always think that some of the most eminent bottoms in astronomy have actually occupied this seat here.
The Siding Spring Optical Observatory, perched on an ancient mountain range and free of light pollution, is an astronomer's nirvana. Only from the Southern Hemisphere can you see right into the center of the Milky Way.
Australia is in a region of longitude where there is virtually nothing else in the way of either radio telescopes or optical telescopes.
Almost every night, in this outback outpost, Professor Fred Watson hosts Australian and international astronomers waiting their turn to unlock the secrets of deep universal time.
The other thing about Australia that makes it attractive is the two Magellanic Clouds, which are our two nearest neighbour galaxies. Huge aggregations of very large numbers of stars. These two Magellanic Clouds offer all kinds of prospects for detailed study of what galaxies are like other than our own.
Radio telescopes reach even deeper into the heavens. They track the faint beat of our universe with technology that is Australia's gift to the world.
In the 1950s and 60s, Australia led the world in the field of radio astronomy. It actually makes a much bigger impact on the world scene than you might expect from a country with a population of only 20-odd million.
Giant arrays of radio dishes capture distant galaxies, while others relay signals from international space missions. It should not be forgotten that some of NASA's most important relay stations are here. Famously, the station that helped save Apollo 13 was down under. And Neil Armstrong's first steps on the moon were picked out of the sky and relayed to the world from here.
It's also played an extraordinarily important role in some of the robotic missions that have gone out to the outer planets and to nearer planets.
2 Australians have travelled to space on US and Russian missions, and experimental rockets have been launched from the empty outback for more than 50 years.
You could describe Australia as an astronomical nation.
Between the Pacific and Indian Oceans, this island continent has islands of its own, more than 8,000. The largest, Tasmania, is a state unto itself. Australia's coastline is nearly as long as the Earth's circumference, about 23,000 miles. The sea is a lifeline to prosperity. 70% of Australia's trade goods travel by ship. Each day, more than 10,000 shipping containers pass through Australian ports. $1.5 billion in exports leave the island each week. The ocean brings business and leisure too. There's one pleasure boat for every 20 people. There's even a boat for pain.
Righto, boys, let's go.
Extreme rowing, the toughest marine sport. 5 crew, 500 teams, and the pounding surf. It's brute strength versus brute nature. These are 450-pound rescue skiffs, designed 100 years ago, tossed about like teacups. At the Australian Surf Life-Saving Championships, Canada's Falzon faces her Ironwoman final. She's learning from these gladiators. The rips, the frequency of waves, it will give her the edge when it's her turn to play. Candice races 3 stages: swim, board and ski. It makes the boat crew's job seem somewhat easy. Usually it's enough just to survive. A kind of victory down under.
Every movement she makes, I'm making it with her.
Candice and her mum prepare for the final.
My heart pumps that much that I can feel it coming out.
Is this the day that dreams die? Candice has a grueling challenge, a 130-yard swim through the surf and back, and straight back out on the circuit paddling a rescue board, and finally, a 3rd time, rowing with the surf ski.
While she's out in front, she usually likes to stay there. Kenny reckons that the adrenaline's pumping that hard. No one can beat you when you come in first.
Ahead after the first 2 legs, Candice leaves her board and takes up the ski. For some of the boats, however, they're done. That's the way it is in these great Aussie contests. The winner is often the sea. Bursting from the surf, Candice is a mere 30 seconds from her dream. Not to be. She finishes 10th.
I train so hard and I put my heart and soul into everything, so when I don't win, it's a little bit disappointing. When you don't win, it sort of tells you where you're at, and you go back to training and you're even a bit more hungrier to win next time.
The Candice Falzon, any failure is temporary. It's an Australian trait. The sea will never beat them, and neither, for that matter, will the land. The surprise is that Australia's most important animal is not the kangaroo or the koala. It's the sheep. It was introduced to the landscape by Europeans. 100 million sheep now produce more wool than any other nation. Half the world's woolen garments use Australian fleece. Sheep have also produced something else. Another Aussie hero.
Competitors get set.
The shearer.
Go. Oh, they mean business.
It's a tough job. The back-breaking task to shear hundreds of sheep a day. But once a year, shearers become athletes, competing against each other in the national titles. That's Australia. Anything can be made into a game.
Dad was a shearer, so I went shearing for a while. Went to my first competition and made the final, and just got the bug. You know, just had to be there at that top level.
Jason Wingfield is one of 250 hopefuls. To win today, Jason has to beat the reigning champion, shearing legend Shannon Warnest.
from a young age. I think I got caught shearing a cat when I was about 6 out in the backyard. The cat didn't like it too much, but I thought it was good fun. But yeah, it's 114 open wins now and a world title and that, so yeah, it's had a good year.
The Open Finals. They've already checked them over.
15,000 spectators from across the country flock here for the sheer joy of the contest. So far, 2,500 sheep have been reduced to their underwear. Now the finals will determine Australia's gun shearer.
This is a big moment for all of these shearers.
Shannon and I get along quite well. We're mates, have a yak, we can sit down and have a beer. But when we get up on that board, that's all gone. It's who can win.
Welcome them onto the stage. On stand number 6, Jason Wingfield.
Each shearer will tangle with 12 sheep. At this level, everyone can fleece an animal in less than a minute.
Judges ready. Competitors, get set, go! They're back onto the board with their first of their 10. That's it. You've got to get right behind your favourite right from the start, ladies and gentlemen.
In the wool shed, shearers earn $2 per sheep, so time is of the essence. But experts like Shannon and Jason can clip 1,000 sheep a week for a 30-week season. That's $60,000 a year. Not bad, but only if you're extremely fit and have the touch of a surgeon.
Jason Wingfield, the big tall fella down there on stand number 6 goes in. He's cool, calm and collected.
Jason takes an early lead. Every 20 seconds costs 1 point. He'll lose more points if the cut is not made in one sweep or blow.
Oh, look at Jason Wingfield starting to come back.
Only the most efficient shearing wins. Technique is critical. A good shearer will manage their animals, not freak them out. And a docile sheep is money.
Shannon Warnesson's right there. He's got the best quality, no doubt.
Shannon needs to stay cool. Every missed clip puts him further behind.
In goes Jason Wingfield on stand number 6. How's his gear cutting? No, he says it's all right. I'll go in with another one. Races into the pen. Julius round the...
Jason is 1 sheep ahead. He can taste the title.
Come on, ladies and gentlemen, get behind your favourite shearer now. Shannon Warnes is shearing like he hasn't shorn all day. Jason Wingfield says, I'm going to have another crack. Jason Wingfield, look at that.
In less than 10 minutes, Jason finishes first.
That's the stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Shannon Warnes, the former world champion.
All that can save Shannon now is flawless technique.
It's not all over yet. They can still win it from here, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get sidetracked. They only won the time stakes. Still quality should supply. He finishes off. Give him a big hand as well.
It's all down to the judges now, as each fleece is compared for quality.
Without further ado, in the open shearing event in the Australian Open, in 4th place, Jason Wingfield on 77.67.
Jason had the speed, but stray cuts cost him points.
And in 1st place, Shannon Warnes on 69.84.
At the end of the day, Shannon keeps his title as Australia's reigning gun shearer. Shearers have been vital to Australia's economy for more than a century. It may be an unusual profession to celebrate the sport, but hard work and intensity have always driven Australians to extremes. Beneath Australia's ancient earth lies a buried treasure. Among the world's richest deposits of diamonds, coal and uranium. Australia is the world's largest exporter of iron ore, alumina and lead. It's the world's 3rd largest producer of gold. In some nations, mining leaves behind an uninhabitable wasteland. Here it creates homes. Unusual homes to be sure, but homes nonetheless. A subterranean village, in fact.
This one was dug out by hand. It's beautiful, really cosy, very warm. The rock sort of embraces you.
This is a town called Coober Pedy. Above, it's a withering desert. When it's 130 degrees Fahrenheit up there, it makes sense to be down under.
It always stays a constant temperature of 20 to 25 degrees all year round. Doesn't matter what's doing outside.
Another Australian high-tech solution.
The matches are put into cracks up there, and if you ever come out here and one of those matches on the floor, you know that the rock has moved and it's probably time to make your way outside somewhere.
This is what created the underground of Coober Pedy. Opal. 95% of these mysterious gems come from Australia. Coober Pedy attracts dreamers with the long-shot chance of finding rich opal veins down below.
It's my pleasure to be under the ground. Makes me happy. Makes me the rest of the day very happy.
Milena Telak came from Croatia for the opals. But like other immigrants to these shores, she too fell in love with the landscape and with its subterranean charms.
I love to see the tunnels. You see the pattern of the machine. You see that design in my mind, and that's what I love to see. But at the moment, I'm just picking and looking where the track's going.
An ounce of opal yields from $100 to $50,000.
See?
But it could be double that once it's cut and polished.
Very excited. It actually makes you feel good when you find something. Really proud of yourself and your work you do.
Opal is one of the few minerals that can still be mined by individuals. Their legacy is a landscape pockmarked with thousands of abandoned mine shafts. An unwritten law in Coober Pedy. Watch your step. 3,500 residents have carved a living and a community from this desolate but amazing land.
Better get me pad. Catch you later.
Okay.
Like Australia's wildlife, they've adapted to the environment. Because the days are so hot, they go to night games to exercise their passion for sport.
And you can't lose the balls at night because they glow in the dark. And when you're playing, you're hitting the rocks, you can lose the ball 2 or 3 balls around. Whereas at night, you can play as many holes as you want, and until the light goes out, you won't lose the ball.
Okay, Damien, put it in the middle.
In Australia, hardship, humour and riches makes a pretty good combination. Arthur Tamwoy's treasure is also tied up with the earth, in its spirit, long protected by elders like Daniel Forrester.
This place, white men call him Rainbow Valley. But we, Southern Arundel people, it's Umblada. It's a good-looking hill to climb. Don't climb it. It was there before we came along, and it's going to be there after us.
Arthur's is a central desert heritage, though he also embraces elements of other indigenous tribes. Didgeridoos aren't native to the desert. They're from northeastern Australia, which is where he learned to play.
Now, how you keep that wind going?
Pull that wind, got to fill that mouth up, and when you blow through, you get a little bit through the nose, and there's the pressure in the mouth.
Circular breathing is the key to keeping up the chanting note, but few are able to master it on one of the world's oldest wind instruments. These Australians protect their culture by living it. Perhaps that is the secret of who they are. Others rely on firepower, and perhaps that is theirs. A large island must face down threats from every compass point. The Royal Australian Navy patrols 10% of the world's ocean. Its most lethal weapon, a fleet of attack submarines. Their crews, Australia's best.
When I open that flood valve and the pressure comes on, what are you going to start to do?
Equalise my ears.
This may look a simple drill, but any mistake can kill Simon Digfoss.
And what's the most important thing to do while travelling to the surface?
At no time, hold my breath.
He'll use no oxygen on this exit drill, and he's 6 stories down.
Worst thing that can happen is you can get an embolism in the brain or the lung, and essentially that can explode.
Head forward. Head back. That's it. Nice and easy. Up top.
It's standard escape procedure for Australian submariners, preparing for the unthinkable.
Head back. How's that?
Awesome.
Nose clip off. Arms across your chest. Squeeze. Name and rank and allow clear boys.
Digfoss, Sub-Lieutenant.
Head back.
Everyone who's in the Navy, whether they're a submariner or not, has respect for what a submariner goes through and the training and so on.
Face the centre of the tank at all times, not bend down, turn around, stoop or sway.
Only the best get into the program. Many step forward, few are chosen. In the past, Australia's forces have fought in battles around the world. In conflict or as peacekeepers, they've served in more than 50 theatres of war. But only during the Second World War did an enemy breach the homeland. Japanese bombers raided Darwin, and their submarines struck Sydney Harbour. Today the nation is at peace with old enemies, but is nevertheless prepared.
As you conduct operations around the country, you do get an idea of how large you really are, because it will take weeks and weeks, sometimes months, to circumnavigate Australia.
Simon earned his stripes on surface vessels. Now he wants a berth on the ultimate boat.
A full year of your life goes into qualifying as a submariner. From the moment that you attempt selection, go through the ashore-based training and come out to sea to prove yourself.
On this case, we're conducting a standard dive MCC.
Now, Simon's final test. He and his crew need to maneuver the boat stealthily, fire off one quick shot, and escape. It's a simulation, but the ship and crew will be in jeopardy.
Every single moment, I'm always under scrutiny and being assessed and so on.
Diving station's at 14.
Australia's connection with submarines started 130 years ago when Irishman Louis Brennan invented the torpedo here. Now at any hour, on any day, his legacy is deployed on secret missions somewhere off Australian shores. On this exercise, HMS Farncombe shadows an enemy ship, engineering the precise moment to slip undetected into firing range.
Dead shallow. The idea is to bang off a weapon before we are inside a counter detection range so that we can destroy them before they even know that we're there.
Stop snorting! And revolutions 115. 10 down, kick, 60 metres, midships, down on Mars.
One shot is all they'll get.
No standing echo. Side range charted dead. Excess of 200 metres. Mars stay 0 warner. Right, just keep an eye on that centre.
Yep. Tube space control room. Fire one tube.
This exercise releases only water, but computers project the virtual torpedo has hit the target.
the ship we fired upon is destroyed. So Bravo Zulu to all personnel involved in that activity. If that had been a real weapon, that weapon would have exploded beneath and destroyed them, and the first thing they would have known about it is when they were flying off the bridge wing.
The perfect drill.
Sir.
And the new Submariner joins the Navy's elite.
It's a submarine sea qualification badge, something you've been working hard for. I congratulate you personally. Well done. Wear them with pride.
Thank you kindly, sir.
How's it
Thank
feel?
you, sir. Fantastic.
Excellent. Carry on.
Oh, sir.
So much of Australia's story is to do with water. There's often too much or too little. Drought is a constant threat. Cattleman Randall Crozier averages just 3 good years in 10.
Yeah, well, it's 24,000 square kilometres or 6 million acres. Well, it's meant to be the size of Belgium, so they say, but I've never been there, so I couldn't tell you.
Randall manages Anna Creek Station, the world's largest cattle property. It survives on 8 inches of rain a year, if it comes at all.
We live in a desert, so it always looks like it's dry, although most of the stuff that grows here is very nutritious. We don't need very much rain to make it spring to life, you know. It's a very productive country if you get the water on it.
Across 2/3 of Australia, no rivers flow, just parched channels flooded fleetingly by rain, which hasn't come to Anna Creek in 4 years.
And when we get a decent rainfall, until the dams go dry, we've got about probably 9 to 12 months maximum.
Well, that's the way this country is, you know. You just got to learn to live with it a bit and go along with it. You can't go against it, you'll never win.
Randall has a plan to save his drought-stricken animals. His small team, including Jillaroo Kimberly Ann Lane, gear up for a monster cattle drive.
473. I love being feral. It's great, I reckon. I reckon it's good not having to get dressed up every day, and like down in the city you see a lot of girls dressing up and all that, and out here you just chuck on jeans, shirt, and off you go. You don't have to worry about putting makeup on to impress anyone or...
Kimberly, oh yeah, she's a good kid. But you've got to give people responsibility, and if someone shows a bit of leadership, whether it be a male or female, well and good, you know. I mean, that's how life evolves, really. You've got to get out there and have a go, and the ones that want to have a go, you've got to let them do it.
In this isolated outpost, 250 miles from the nearest city, Randall and his wife Tanya keep their community together like an extended family. The life's not for everyone.
Finding people to come out in the bush, you know, can be hard, can be a big battle. So we've got a lot of young people here. There wouldn't be one here working for me, probably over 30.
Oh yeah, it's hard life. You love it. You learn to love it. That's the only reason I'm out here. I'm not out here for the money or anything.
The next few days will decide the fate of Anna Creek Station. Livelihoods are at stake, and a company fortune. But Randall knows within this vastness lies a hidden treasure. Anna Creek only survives because 600 feet below its parched earth is a vast aquifer. The Great Artesian Basin underlies 1/5 of Australia. It's been collecting rainwater for 2 million years. It could easily fill 20 billion Olympic pools.
Probably one of the best natural resources in the world, I think. That water that comes up out of the ground on its own. We sort of don't rely too much on them in a normal season. When it gets a little bit dry, of course, you've got to lighten your load off and just stop lightly, and so hopefully you can get through it. You know?
out before.
With the world's most erratic rainfall, 1/5 of Australia's livestock depend on groundwater.
6 to 8 to 10,000 gallons an hour. Yeah, probably, that'll be at least 6,000 an hour there. Easy.
The well will save Randall's cattle. When his young team find them, the animals are scattered across 6 million acres. Less than 3% of Australians live in the arid outback, but even in the cities, there are stories of survival.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. Hung Lee!
Hung Lee is a comedian and a survivor.
You know that show, Survivor? Have you seen that show? Every week, my whole family, we get together, we turn their lives off, we watch Survivor, and my old man goes berserk, right? He goes, Survivor! What now? You trendy to be refugee?
30 years ago, Hung and his family fled Vietnam to make a new home in the southern city of Melbourne.
"30th of April 1975 is the last day of the Vietnam War, and we get this phone call. It says you've got 3 hours to leave the country. So I thought quickly, we packed our bags, fed the dog to Grandma, and we drove to the dock, jumped on the boat, and then you look back and the whole of Saigon was burning. Mate, I reckon these flames just to make Vietnamese people feel at home.
You know how close I came to an English-speaking Vietnamese guy in Australia in 1975? They gave us a guy from Malta.
6 million migrants have moved to Australia since the Second World War. 500,000 were refugees. Today, 140 different nationalities live on Australian soil. 1 in 4 Australians were not born here.
Australia's different because it's made up of so many different nationalities. People hold on to their cultures, which is a great thing about Australia. People all live together and all help each other out.
Can I have one long macchiato, please?
Bringing their stories, their food, and their outlook with them, European, Asian, and Middle Eastern migrants are constantly transforming Australia. Hung hits the road to experience a bizarre Aussie sport where the contestants are deadly. Hung Lee was once an outsider, and that gives him a special perspective on the Australian character, which he mines for his act.
Australians have this great way of speaking. It's like they understate everything. The nearest town could be 600 miles away, and an Australian will tell you, it's just down the road. The Australians have to underplay everything. Mind you, not everything is understated.
Anything that's over the top is gold for comedians.
You know, the Egyptians got the pyramids, well, we got the big pineapple.
These monuments aren't exactly art. They're more to do with extracting tourist dollars, and it works just fine.
Okay, Keith, give us a smile, my man. Right-hand turn at the big pineapple, you end up with the big cow. Size does matter in Australia. Survival of the hugest, the most enormous wins everything. I reckon Australia used to be a land of the giants before the whitefellas turned up. Mary had a little ram, its fleeces white as snow. It got into Mary's steroid stash, and look at Fluffy grow!
Hung's travelled 1,500 miles from Melbourne to Cairns in far north Queensland. The animal he most wants to see is the country's most despised creature. But it still gets invited to the pub.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, tide race. You ready? 3, 2, 1, tide race. Away they go.
Put 5 cane toads in the middle, put some numbers on their back, and gamble.
Oh, hey, Shannon wins by half a poison sack, ladies and gentlemen.
Another immigrant, this time gone wrong. This toad was introduced from South America to eat the beetles on sugarcane. But it soon overran the environment because it had no natural predators. It's toxic to anything that eats it.
They're killing crocodiles now. Cane toads are going to take over Australia.
Put your hand in there.
Everything that eats it is dead.
Number 2 there. Put him in, put him in.
How much is it you back? $3.
Just a little kiss on the lips, right? Go on, just give him a little kiss. Whack him in there, whack him in the bloody starting stall there. They're a bit slow tonight because we're a bit cold on the outside. Coming down the back straight is Anarchy. Anarchy makes a big move, ladies and gentlemen. Also, Twinkle Toes. Twinkle Toes on the outside. Twinkle Toes on the outside. Also, Twinkle Toes. Anarchy, ladies and gentlemen. Anarchy first. Anarchy.
Hung wins $20 and a new routine for his city audiences.
That's Australia for you, mate. Sport and gambling. Australia will gamble on anything.
In Australia, you either adapt or move on. The Aborigines shaped themselves to the will of nature for 40,000 years. Although many Indigenous Australians now live in cities, 2/3 still live on traditional lands in remote communities. Their dreaming stories survive. There are, in fact, many Aboriginal cultures, comprising more than 400 Aboriginal nations. Nikki Willis founded a dance company to bring dreamings to a wider audience. She's from the rainforest country in the tropical north, but she also works with desert people like Arthur Tamwoy.
She not only cares, but she also loves and she respects all of us.
Although we're not connected by blood, we have a connection, the continuation of our culture.
Nikki has permission to perform rainforest dreaming stories for desert elders, a rare privilege. She's awed by the notion.
For us to come from another part of Australia and to be given the permission from the elders to perform here on their land is something that means a lot to both myself and the rest of the people in the group.
They've performed around the world, but for Nikki and Arthur, there's nothing like performing on sacred ground. It's like the Vatican, or Mecca, or the Wailing Wall.
It's very overwhelming for me, and it means so much more for us to perform for our elders than dancing for King of Japan.
Nikki and Arthur are about to unite their distant nations. For Aborigines, the spirit world is no metaphor. It exists. In the vast desert, they're about to conjure up the spirits of the rainforest. Australia's north could be another country, more akin to its neighbours in Southeast Asia. Closer to Indonesia's capital than its own lies Australia's great wetlands of Kakadu. Recreated anew each wet season, Kakadu teems with life. Three million waterbirds follow the monsoon rains here. More than 100 species of reptile, 1,200 plant species, and 10,000 types of insects. It's Australia's largest national park. 8,000 square miles of wilderness. 1,000 miles east lies another primordial land, preserved from before the time of the dinosaurs, one of the richest ecosystems on Earth. An ancient oasis, surviving 300 million years. One of the world's oldest rainforests. This is Nikki Willis's homeland, Yarrabah.
When I'm in another country, it's unfamiliar territory and unfamiliar spirits. When I come home, I reconnect with my land and my spirit, and it feels really good.
Yeah, we were worried about him.
Nikki's biological parents have died, but in this culture, parenthood is shared.
We're their next parents, both me and Henry, but the mother was very close. So I took these kids in, and they're like my very own children.
Though Nikki constantly travels, she knows to return often to her Idingi tribe. Here, she reconnects with her deep past, and hears once more stories of her ancestors.
This is very much a learning circle that's going on here, and I have very valuable sources of information here. What I learn here, I then take it to my group and take these stories and these songs all over the world.
As you'd expect, Idingi dreamings are far different from those of desert tribes. Water spirits dominate. Aboriginal lore is secret and mysterious. This waterhole is reserved for women. Men are taboo. Here, Nikki's young sister Betty will begin her road to womanhood.
It's very important, you know, to understand what our woman's role was in tribal life, because we have the gift of birth, okay? And just like our Mother Earth gives birth, we have that gift. And Mother Earth gives us everything that we need to survive. And she gives birth every day. The trees, the birds, the plants, the animals, the water, all gifts from Mother Earth. The white represents everything that's pure. And you, at your age, you are pure. So the dots I'm doing on your face now represent the rainfall by our part of north of Australia. Everything tells a story. So you're a walking picture book.
As a young Australian receives wisdom from her elder in the lush tropics, another prepares for the experience of a lifetime in Australia's desert heart.
You on Charlie, Ben?
On Anna Creek Station, cattle drives cover hundreds of miles.
How are you?
Yeah, mate, now I'm stopping on the bus.
Yeah, no problem, mate.
Today, Gillaroos like Kimberley trade their horses for machines.
Marvel's a pilot. He'll go out and have a look around, see where the majority of the mobs and all that are.
You on Charlie, mate?
Yeah, you got your models?
Okay, mate, I've got my first mob here for you. Yeah, mate, they're right out my right wing here now, eh?
This is Kimberley's go. She's been given her own mob to bring in.
Keep going straight, give it to her, right? There's only there between the sandals. It's half split up now.
It gets very tiring after a while. You get tired and you just want to have a decent shower and do all that stuff, but part of the job, really.
Without tenacity, Australian farmers couldn't survive. And the country could never have become what it is. An unlikely agricultural giant exporting food to the world.
It's a very fine line. You have to work hard at it all the time. You can't sleep or not off and think, oh, it'll be right, it'll come back. Things will be right next week or next year.
At last, water. The station survives, at least for another season. They've pulled through bad years before, and they will again.
I was wondering if you're doing anything for dinner tonight.
No, I'm not cooking, sorry.
For Kimberly, this life holds everything she's ever dreamed. Freedom and adventure. It's easy to be passionate about this land. Once you get it, you fall in a big way. Some fell for this place ages ago. Nikki's day of reckoning is hurtling toward her.
The spirits are in the wind. The spirits are in the rain. And they've come to bless us.
She has entreated her water spirits to do something unheard of. To wander with her to Australia's desiccated centre.
I love my mama. You rest now. The job's in my hand now. To carry my grandfather's and my mother's names and their traditions and their spirits. A phenomenal job.
900 miles and 24 hours away, an audience gathers to witness something amazing. These elders are the most powerful of the Amanguna people, the equivalent of royalty.
In modern day societies, giving material gifts is the Aussie way. In our customs, there is no material possessions. We're just doing a simple dance, and we're calling for our spirits to come and bless the spirits from this country.
Nikki and Arthur feel the power of this moment, trying to unite two opposite spirit worlds. The performance must be flawless, so as not to give offense.
I'm petrified. I'm very nervous.
You feel old, you feel ancient, you feel wise, you feel part of everything.
It's going to be a very powerful afternoon for me, and I feel totally blessed that I am in the presence of some beautiful, wonderful, powerful women here. Connection to Dreamtime is the basis for all Aboriginal people right throughout the country. Fundamental connection that we do have. When you dance them, you live the stories all the time.
Thank you very much.
It seems both gods and ancestors have nodded their approval. Nikki Willis and Arthur Tamway have earned the respect of their ancestors.
Thanks, guys.
Their new journey is just beginning. Like Australia itself. Often just a century ago, Australians now step confidently into their future. One dreams of the near impossible.
I want to go to the Olympics more than anything. Ever since I was a young girl, I've had a dream of representing Australia.
Another cherishes a front row seat in an endless movie.
It's just a beautiful country, I love it.
Yet another lives to serve, while another burrows beneath the earth.
This is my country.
Some new souls have found sanctuary.
A lot of people come to this country to start again, to get their life back on track.
In the end, the one constant in these lives is Terra Australis, the great southern land.
This is my country. I came from this. I'm going to go back to this when I die.